Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar of the June release. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm just gonna wait a few seconds to see if somebody reacts that they can't hear me or everything's looking fine. Okay, I think you guys can hear me, so let's start. I'm Rick van der Dijssel, the product owner of HelloID. So we're going to do a live webinar of the new features in the June release. Before we start, I would ask you, if you don't want to miss any webinars or release videos, just subscribe to the channel. It's right there, should be. And click on the bell icon so you will never miss a webinar. So to start off, I just posted a link in the chat where we can vote on the new features, so we can see what features you like and which we will discuss, because we have a lot of new features, so hopefully we can discuss them all, but maybe some require a little bit more time, and we will shorten some other features, but we have to look at it. If there are a lot of viewers, we will go on and continue with the descriptions. So you can press on the link and you can vote on that, and I can see the results. To go a little bit further, so we changed the release, of course, with this release. So the release is always on the second Monday of the month. So it's last Monday, of course, it was the second Monday of the month of June, so it will be the June release. So the July, I think, on top of my head, is on the 12th of July. It will be the July release, so it's a little bit easier, hopefully, for everybody to understand that on the second Monday of the month, the release of that month will be released. So it's easier to understand. Before we're going to start about the new features, there's also some little changes or different changes that I think are not that big of a deal that we can discuss here, or of course some issues we fixed, but you can see them in the release notes. So if you go to roadmap.helloid.com, you can go to launched and see all the new features that I'm talking about today, but also you can go to the release notes on that. There's a tab in the top of the page. Go to release notes and you will see all the details that changed in this release or issues that we fixed. If you submitted any issues through the support line, you will get notified that it will be released in this version or a different version. So if you send something in, you will be notified by that channel, and else you can read the release notes. So let's go to and check out if there are any votes already done. Let's go to the poll. So I see one vote for the provisioning permission 2.0. It's a title I created because the normal title was a little bit too long, but it was a combination of the dynamic permissions and also the current permission system. And also I see a display progress of the target system. We vote. And of course, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat, and I will answer them as soon as possible. Oh, there's also a vote for the essay form redesign. So let's wait a couple of seconds, and then I will start with one of them. Maybe it's good to start with the display progress of the target system, because that's provisioning, and we have a couple of provisioning. Oh, it's just changing, but let's start with the display progress of target system, because I think we are most of the time we're talking about the provisioning permission 2.0 system, because it's more complicated than the other stuff. So let's start with that one. So we have a new front end for the target system. So if I go to the provisioning side, as you can see here, and I go to target system, you will see that there's a new interface where you can see if all the actions that are done on systems are already done, and if they are completed, yes or no. And this is a summary of the last 24 hours. So you can see here the summary since and the last update. So the last time any actions have triggered. So what I can do here for demonstration, I can create a new system. Let's create a partial target system. Oh, and call it demo June system. Of course, normally it would be a system as well. And here I can just say save. And what I'm going to do in my business rule is just say, okay, I'm going to put in an entitlement for everybody, and it's just the account of that system. In this case, I go to my June demo system and go to both the account and account access. So I'm adding those, I'm saving it and publish it. And now if I run it, I have to go quickly to the other screen. Where is it? Oh, here you can see it's running. So now it's on 25%, 34, 44. Now you can see the grunt account already done. Now they're busy with the enable accounts, and now the system is completed. So now you can easily see if the system is running and if it's not running or it has something to do. So it's more easy, and of course you can see how many actions the last run was. We chosen for a 24-hour window because if you do a force account or a single retry of an entitlement, you still want to see that inside the summary. So you don't want to see that last run of just one action. So if you did something at night and then you go to the business rule and say something, okay, I retried an entitlement, you don't want to see one, but you want to see your complete change of the last day. So that's the reason why we did a 24-hour summary. So still, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. But this is the new target system overview where we can see the progress of the target system more easily. So eventually, if you do a implementation, it could take a while, so it's easier to see it here. Okay, so let's go to the second feature. Okay, so the provisioning permission to that one has 6 votes. Okay, so let's do that one then. Let's go back and let's go to the demo June system again. So here we have the system that I just created. I already assigned the account to a couple of people, as you show in the progress. And I also have some permission. So if I go to the permission screen, you will see something differently than the previous version, because now in this case my screen is blank. Normally you had on the left side the permissions and on the right side the dynamic permissions. But now it's blank. Because I just created the system. If you already had a system, it will be different, but I will talk about that later. So with the permission configuration, I can just add a new permission configuration and I see a couple of options. There are exactly 3 options. And those options will define what kind of permission I have. I'm going to talk about this configuration, what you can do about it. But I think it would be really nice to see a practical submission of this new feature. So if you have any ideas of a permission role authorization or any type of thing you want to set in a target system that isn't Active Directory, Azure or Exchange, please put it in the chat and I will try to configure it. So please let me know if it's a role authorization, what's the name of the system, and which market it is in. And then I think I have enough information to configure the permission how it should be as a nice example. So first off, we have in the top the permissions, and this is determined how you see the permissions inside the business rule. So you have 2 options. You can just manually select it, or you can retrieve them from a target system through a script. So let's first just disable it and go to the manual selection. So what we have here is I can say, okay, I have a permission called, let's say, team share or team A share. This is also relevant. It's reference, and I can add that as team A share. But I also can add a second one, team B share, and have team share B as a second reference, and I can apply that. And if I save this and I go to my rules, and let's go to this one as an example, just add the entitlements of the demo June system, I can see here the team A share and the team B share. So I can just enter them manually if I want to. That's a little bit new because we already had that with the dynamic permissions, but now we can do that just as a single permission and not only as a dynamic permission. The other option I have in this is if I go back to the June system and go back to the permissions, I can use a script. So I can use a script to retrieve the permissions, and normally I will do that from a target system, and in this case I have the default script in here, and if I do a preview, you will see the results of the permissions. So in this case I have a second permission and first permission. So if I apply this and just save it, and I go back to my business rules. Sorry, the assembly I think I've chosen, and go to demo June, I will see the first and the second permission. So those are the two differences. I can choose between a manual or a script to retrieve the permissions I'm going to set in my business rules. Hopefully that's clear. The first step. The second step is I can determine how I'm going to grant, revoke, or update any actions to my target system. So I can choose to have a separate script for each type of action. So each a grant, an update, or revoke. So in some cases the update isn't required. Think about in an Active Directory group, you just want to grant it or revoke it. You don't want to update it because a revoke, you assign it or you don't assign it. But if you do something like just a single permission team share which has multiple subpermissions, you want to update it. So there's a difference. The other option is I just have a single script which defines my grant, updates, and revokes. My preferred method is if I have subpermissions, I will do a single script. So if it's disabled, I will use the script per action, and if I'm enabling this, I will use a single script. Because if I'm using subpermission, I have to calculate it, and else I have to do the calculation in the grant and the update, and else I only have to do it in just a single script. So for me it's easier, but you can choose whatever you want to. And the third option is the subpermissions. And what you can do with this is, let's go back to the manual permissions, still have them, just apply them, and I will enable the, or let's run it first without the subpermissions. Oh, and let's do this, sorry. And if I'm going back again and I'm going to the assemblage rule and I'm going to assign demo June, and I'm going to assign team A share to the person Oscar. I'm going to publish it. I'm going to run it. Sorry, that was the wrong button. I will see here that team A share is added to Oscar Gertsen. There are some entitlements that are blocked, so let me remove those really quickly. So Oscar at the permission team share A, And here you see this group sign, or the permission sign that we use. So let me revoke them and go to a subpermission option. So this is just a single team share for team A. Let's revoke them for Oscar. So here you can see it will be revoked for Oscar. Go back to the target system. Then I'm going to enable the subpermission. And I'm going to change the script. I'm going to the one script because it was my preferred method, as I talked about earlier. Just save it. And then I'm going back and reassign the A permission to the rule. Save it, and I'm granted it. Maybe I was too fast, or I made a mix up. Save and publish. Oh, sorry, my mistake. I think I made a mistake. I didn't approve the blocking, so now it's automatically added because it's already the edit state in the add state. So now I have to remove it and I have to unblock it. Sorry, my mistake. Because the reference is the same, I still see them as the same permission because I just manually entered it. Although it could have subpermission yes or no. But now if I'm going to the rules and I'm going to enter it and just add it, team share A, save and publish. Sorry, it's a lot of clicking, but we will be there. So now you see permission team A share is added, and now you will see it's a different icon because now it's a subpermission, and a subpermission could have multiple permissions below them or define a scope. So now they say, okay, I have a team A share with the scope of the department of Oscar. And that's the main difference. So a subpermission could have multiple permissions in the underlying top permission. If you just disable it, it's just a single permission with a grant and a revoke. So that's the main difference between those. You can use a subpermission in two different ways. The first one is, as I mentioned here, you can use scoping. So you can say, okay, somebody in has a role in a system, but it only has this role for certain teams or certain departments or certain functions. The other way you can use it is, I want to have a share of the team that you're in. So I just define one permission because it's easier to do this in the rules, because I just have to put everybody in just one entitlement permission. So it's just a team share, and I calculate all the shares based on the contract information of a person. So in this case, it will grant the share of team assemblage. So that's the major difference between the three configurations we currently have. To put it in perspective, when you have, of course you already have some PowerShell systems, or you could have it. And if you're using dynamic permissions, it will be migrated to the current configuration you see here. So it will be manually selected, and the name of the dynamic permission will be here as a reference. So it will always be one reference and not two. The action will be one single script, and the subpermissions will be enabled. If you're having a conversion from the normal permissions that you have, that's a different one. We retrieve the permissions by script. So loading up the Active Directory groups from a system as an example. We have a different types of scripts. So each action is in a script. So normally only the grant and revoke will be filled in. So the update is empty in the migration, and the subpermission will be disabled. So the added feature with this is we can create multiple permissions, up to 9, I believe. Sorry, up to 10, I have to say. And also we can do a combination of getting a roles, groups, authentication from a system and still using the subpermission level. That's something we couldn't do in the previous setup. Also the other way around, we can use permissions just by manually entering them and just do a single permission. So that's also the difference. I can just type in here some permissions and just adding them using these scripts. So that's the added value here and the difference between the previous system. So you have more options and it's more configurable and hopefully easier to understand in the future when you're getting used to this. That's a long talk, so I don't see, let me check if we have any questions. No, I don't see any questions. So hopefully you get this and you didn't lose me in this whole talk, because it's a little bit complicated. But let's go back to the voting to go to the next feature. If you have any questions on this, it's no problem to ask it later. I will go back to it. That's no problem. So the display progress of target systems we already did. So let's go to the Volt Delta view between snapshots. Yes, this is also a really nice feature which can help you determine what is happening in the system. So first off, let me explain what it is. So we have a source system and we create. We name it snapshots, and a snapshot could be an import of multiple source systems or just one. And we create a difference between each snapshot. So if I do an import, it will create a snapshot, and we will calculate the difference between them. And now these differences are seeable. We can show them. So here you can see a total of 511 persons imported and just an update of 1. That's not really a big change, so let's go do a big change. So let's go to the HR system and just add a field. I think the division code or something like that. Oh no, let's do it on the contract. Division code. Let's add it and make it fixed. And we say the division is tools. So it's fixed. We're going to save it. And normally you will do a new import, but I can just do a new snapshot here. If I do a new snapshot, it will create a snapshot for me. And yeah, it's already done. So now you can see I have 500 updates in there. The other 11 is from the Flexpool system and not from the HR system, I think. Or it's not imported from one because it's blocked, I think. So let's go to the persons. And now you can see for this snapshot the changes. So here you can see my change for all these persons. It's added on the contract. This person only has one contract, a division code. And because this one is the primary contract, it will also be on the primary contract. The nice thing, we do not only have this on the snapshot level, but also on the persons level. So if we go to the persons and just go to a person here and go to the history, we can see the whole history of the person. So in 3 of March this year, this person was created. And if we go to the above top level, we see just the change that I recently did. So the division code was added. We have some icons here. So yellow means there's an update, green means there's something new, and there's also red, that means that it's deleted, and if we have a green with a plus sign in it, the person is just new, so there's something really new. And based on the amount of changes, you'll see a number of blocks. So I think the top level of blocks we will show is 6, something about that, but we will calculate how many changes there were made, and based on that we will show amount of blocks. So you can see in a snapshot or in a person if the person really changed a lot without opening it. So here you can see multiple changes. So it's a bigger change. So that's easier to detect and to see. I think it's really helpful. We also designed this feature to see if something happens in your target system and you have a block because an account was disabled or deleted, but you don't know why it's deleted or why it should be disabled. You can see the person, go to the person here, go to the history and just check what is changed in HR to trigger this. Also, there's a different way to trigger it, but we will add that in the future to see if it's triggered by an HR change or if a source change or something in your business rules. Oh, I see a reaction. Oh, it's one of the developers currently also viewing it. And it's good to know there are a max of 3 blocks. So if you see 3 blocks, there are a lot of changes. The yellow ones are updates. So I can show that. Let's go back to the presentation. And if you see here, a yellow one is an update. So here you can see the division name. And the old was identity management, and it's changed to distribution. This is all, almost everything is backwards compatible. So you can see all the changes in the past before this feature was released. The only thing that isn't visible is the deletion of the persons because we didn't have the name, the display name of the person. So I think that's only in the future. We will save the display name of the person that is deleted, and we will show that in the history of the snapshot. But that's not backwards compatible because we never did have that information or stored. I don't see any new. Okay, let's go to the service automation form redesign. So let's go to the front end. And if we go to the service desk as an example, let's go to this form. You will see that this layout is completely new. So this has changed, and it's in the same style as we did with the change of the redesign with the portal for the end users. So it's easier for the eyes. Also, it's mobile friendly, so it works nice on tablet and on mobiles. It's all the elements work the same. So if you select an element, it will be blue highlighted and things like that. So it's really easy to see things and determine how it works because everything works the same. Also, we changed the progress bar to the lower side. So previously it was here above, but now you will just have the form up in your face, and it's easier to see and select things because you don't have to skip a whole part of the progress. So it's easier to do this below here. So let's say I can select Rick here and you see the basic attributes. And of course, everything is still there. There are a couple of changes. I think in the dual list, in the previous one we gave the changes, but now we give the full data in the summary. And we're going to check that if it's possible to show the changes. I think though that is the major change in functionality. The rest is almost the same, but it's just the UI is better. It should work on tablets and mobile and things like that. So it's easier to use the forms on that. It's not only on the delegated forms, of course, it's also in the product. So if you just create a form, it will also be in the product. We already received a feedback that the window was a bit small, but it's because of the same component we use in the products. But in the next release, it will be wider. It's on the roadmap. So just to be reassured, and also if you see a summary, there's a difference here. It's neater, it's nicer for your eyes, and it's easier to understand because everything works the same. There's the same highlighting and things like that. So let's move on. Let's go to the export persons from the vault. Yes, let's go. So we're back to the provisioning side of HelloID, and then we can go to a snapshot page, and now you have a button here where you can say download. So I can press here, and I don't know if you see this, but it gives me a JSON file. I will open that in the browser. So it will give me a JSON file, as you can see here, so with all the persons, with the account information from the person, with all the details, the name and everything. So I can just also show it as raw data. So all the persons in the snapshot will be exported. So you can do this to analyze something or use it in a different case. But the data is available to download for you if you have access to the provisioning portal. I don't see any other questions, so I will continue. I don't think it's a problem to extend the time a little bit, because I think you also want to see the other features, and I still see a lot of people that are viewing, so let's continue with it. Let me see. Okay, let's go to the report data. So let me show these two, the programmatic access to report data and the permissions on the reports, just as one feature. Of course it's two, but I can show them because they are both in the same area. So what I can do now is go to the admin portal. And if I go to the admin portal, you can go to security and go to report, and I have two new options here. So the report is new, and also the permissions and API key. So let me first start with the API key because it's a little bit simpler. So what I can do here with the API key is just generate a secret, and you can see a secret here in an API URL where you can request your data, which is in the report. So this means all audit logging which you're using in your reports can be downloaded. And you can also press on the documentation, and here you go to our doc side, and you will get the information about generating the secret code, but also the Access API. Because the Access API is based on the REST API of Elastic. That's the report engine that we're using. So they have a really good understanding of the REST API documentation, and also some really powerful plugins. I think there is a plugin for Power BI which you can use to connect through the API, the REST API of Elastic, to get the data, so you can use it in Power BI and create all your reports there. Or I think there will be plugins for different systems, but Power BI is the one I know about the most. But you can get all the data using this API, and using the links in this documentation. So here you will see all the REST API documentation, how you can use it. So there are a lot of different things you can use, query the data in a particular way, using fuzzy searching for data, and all that kind of stuff you can do with this API. So it's really powerful. The second one, let me remove this because I don't want everybody to get access, of course, to this API. So you can just generate one API key, and if you remove it, the access will be revoked, of course. On the permission level, we have something new. So here you can see the current topics we have as default in HelloID. So you see access management, provisioning, and service automation in the reporting. So if I open the reporting here, you can see access management, service automation, provisioning, and enjoy, which is a custom one. These are the default ones, and you cannot delete them because we are managing them, and maybe in the future we'll create more, but you can assign groups to them. So you can say, okay, this I want to assign read for this group, for this persons. So you can say, okay, for access management, other people can see the reports than other ones. But what you also can do is just create your own, we call it space, in which you can create a report and assign groups to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a space. So let's say a custom enjoy. And as you can see here now, I have a space custom enjoy. I can manage the groups. So here I'm going to add groups. And in my case, I'm a little bit lazy, so I'm going to say elastic reports read, read only, and elastic reports write, read write. So here you can determine who sees the report, so read only, and here you can determine which the people who can change the report, so build it or change it. So let's close this. And if we go, or if we refresh this page, you would expect that you see the space here, but the space will only be shown if you create a single report inside the space. So if we go to the report management, normally it should show. I think I need a refresh or something like that. Let me sign off. And sign on again. That's a shame because normally I tested this before and I saw the space, but maybe it's a time problem because I used or a caching problem because I used the same name. So let's special just to be sure. So I'm doing the same as I did before. Read only, read write, save, enjoy special, manage groups to lead. Refresh just to be sure. Okay, I think it has something to do with caching and my cookie. But normally I can create I see a space here, enjoy special if I do report management, just as I see the different spaces here. So normally you could press enjoy and create a dashboard here. Maybe, no, I cannot see it. Yeah, there they are. So it was, I had to sign off. It was a problem with that. So go to enjoy special and just go to here, dashboard. Let's create something really quick. Let's create a panel, lens, provisioning. I don't have any data in it. Well, let's do authentication. Let's see. I'm just doing a little report, just showing the IP addresses, which I'm logging into from this portal. You save it. AM IP addresses. And now if we go back to HelloID, I will see the Enjoy special with my report. I just created a custom report. So you can do this really easy. And normally it shouldn't be a problem, but maybe I just logged in as a different person. This is something different we have to solve. But here you can see all the IP addresses that I connect from and see the other ones. But you can just create the reports that you want, and you can just change the permissions who see the report, or actually the whole space of reports. So here you can have multiple in one. So let's check the questions again. No, I don't see any new questions. I think those are the features. Oh. Yes, those are the features. So if you don't have any questions, I would like to thank you guys for this release webinar. So if you still have any questions, you can contact me on my email, or just put in a comment on the YouTube video below and we will respond on that. And of course, if you have any new feature requests or some feedback about changes, you can put it on the roadmap.helloid.com. There's a button in the top right corner with the feedback where you can post a message. And don't forget to subscribe here and hit the bell icon so you will be notified on the webinar. And also good to know that there's also a new button in the emails we send for the release where you can press on and it will be automatically added to your calendar. So in the release there's a button, in the release mail there's a button where you can add it at the webinar to my calendar, and it will download a file. You can just open it and it will be in Outlook or any other email client. And we're also going to send out some separate emails about the webinar, so you know when it is and which time it is, on which date. So thank you, and I will talk to you the next time.